So, my mom called me this morning to wish me a happy birthday, and we got into the conversation about Donald Trump. She's saying that Donald Trump provided a lot of accolades today or yesterday to Michelle Obama, and that the kids will be paying for their lunch now. Free lunch is out the door, especially for my niece. And she started talking about how Obama has gotten a backlash and everything that Obama has stood up for. We are seeing it being torn down basically by the Trump administration. And I had to ask her, we got into an argument. And I asked her, what has Obama done for us? And you get the same argument that you get a lot of the same argument from these black women when they talk about, well, Obama couldn't do anything because everything that he tried to get passed, it wouldn't go through. So I had to explain to her, how we are as black people, how we tend to look at the top. We tend to look at the executive branch. We look at who's running for president versus who is running in your district. She doesn't agree with me with this, and I had to explain to her, well, during the time when Obama was in office, the House and the Senate, for the most part, was ran by Republicans. Now we see that it's ran by the Republicans as well, and that currently the executive office is also ran by Republicans, which is going to be a strong force to be reckoned with. And I also asked her the same question. It's like, why do you continue to vote Democrat? Which I don't like Trump for a lot of reasons, But I understand the difference between bigotry and racism. And I understand that Donald Trump is not a racist. He is a bigot. Some may consider him as being a nationalist, which I can agree. He's definitely a protectionist. Yes, I can definitely agree with that. And so am I. I would be considered a nationalist as well. But she doesn't understand, like, when we talk about the Obama administration, and I tell her that the ones who benefited from the Obama administration, as far as black people, are the ones who, for the most part, didn't vote for him in the first place. And as a taxpayer and as an American citizen, and also as a person who speaks directly to the black community, particularly the inner city, I've seen it. I've seen families, great grandmothers, grandmothers, daughters, children, great grandchildren, who are of legal age to vote, and they didn't vote for Obama. But you hear them saying, "Oh, I hope Obama wins because if he doesn't win, they're gonna take away my food stamps. Oh, he's gonna take away my Section 8." And it's like, damn. I mean, the least you can at least do is go out and vote, but they don't, and they reap the benefits of the democratic system. Um, you know, she doesn't understand how the community works, and I'm trying to get her to understand. She sat down quietly as I explained a lot of this stuff to her, and then she says, "I got to get off the phone, Sam. I got another call coming in." So we stopped. So that enticed me to basically do this video. Um, I talked to her a lot about last names because of course, I'm born out of wedlock. My father did not sign the birth certificate, and I explained this to my dad's dad, who is a pastor. He has his own church. And, when I explained to him how society works and how we need to unite as a group of people, and also how the same message that I'm spewing to him should be directed in his church as well. It should be implemented, around the community where his church resides. He's like, "I'm not going to tell my congregation about that. It's up to them. It's up to them to do it." But this type of information, a lot of motherfuckers just don't get. They don't understand it. So I had a conversation with him about last names. Um, I think I mentioned it in another video how my dad, who is now deceased, he was murdered when I was young. He had three sons by three different women, and all of us have three different last names, which basically comes from our mother's side of the family. And he realized after I told him about the importance of last names, he realized that wow, his sons, all of their children have the last names of their matriarchy, of their mother and their grandmother's establishment. Basically the matriarchal grandfather's last name. So he sent me a link to my dad's obituary, which was on findagrave.com, and I noticed how he revised it. He put my last name on there, my older brother, and my little brother's last name, all the same, and even my father's stepchild gave him the same last name as my biological father. And I asked my older brother about it because his last name is Jones, and I asked him about it. I said, well, what are you gonna do about that? Because he actually went as far as changing his children's last name from Smith to Jones. And I've always changed my name. I spelled my name a little differently than how it's spelled normally, how the normal American or the normal English way of the name being spelled. I write it a different way, and it's pronounced the same. So I said that I was going to use that particular name to carry my lineage on, and I wasn't going to use my paternal father's last name because he had the responsibility of signing the birth certificate or at least changing the documents or updating the documents where I could have my last name that way and I can grow up having my last name as his. But so much time has passed by. I mean, I've gone to school, I've worked, I've been a part of society, signed several documents using the last name that I have now, and it's like, I can't do it anymore. So when I told my grandfather about the importance of last names, it's basically how, when you go to a lot of these banquets, these elite parties, they tend to base you on family last names. Like, for instance, if you're watching the Titanic movie, I was watching that yesterday, and Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Jack Dawson, he's a third class passenger on the Titanic, and he ends up on the first class section, and he's talking with the first class members, sitting down eating dinner with them, and all of these rich elite people, they're like, oh, Jack Dawson, are you related to the railroad Dawsons? And he's like, no, I'm not related to them, because it's based on last names. It's like, your family, when you have a reputation as a family unit, it's generally based on the establishment and the money and the resources that you have. And he was like, oh, okay, well, oh, I see, you're not related to them. But they still thought that he was associated with some type of, higher, social power within his family unit. New money, of course, but still a part of the club is how they put it on the show. If you go to a party and you were to say, well, yes, my last name is Trump. Oh, are you related to the Trumps, to the Donald Trumps? Or you're related to the Bushes or the Vanderbilts? And when I explained this to my grandfather, I guess it took him a week or two to figure it out. And something told me, maybe he'll get the hint. But then he sends me this link to my dad's obituary, shows the picture of his grave site, and I'm reading the obituary, and he removes my last name and puts his last name on it. Because, I mean, of course, all three of his sons never, took the opportunity to have their children's last name changed to theirs, which my older brother has done. He's like, well, you know what, I'm just going to continue to just, use my last name as Jones, and my children's last name is going to be Jones. But when you think deep of it, when you think deep into it like I do, when I think about, the slave ancestry and, the slave name being passed down to generation, I'm like, no, I at least have to spell it differently. We have in my family, we do have a group of people. We have a last name that's very, very rare, and it's spelled different ways, and that's because, of course, back in the olden days, a lot of blacks did not know how to read. So you might see the name with the same pronunciation, but of course it's spelled differently because people did not know how to read back in the bullwhip days, and when you had sharecroppers moving up north to places like Detroit and Chicago to live a better life, their last names are spelled differently than the the last names of the people who live in the southern areas. You know, so I'm glad that he got the hint, but it's just too late. Um, I can't do it, and I know the importance of it. The only thing I can do is if I have any kids, just to tell my kids, these particular people, you want to stay away from them because they might be related to you. I mean, it's a strong possibility that they are related to you because my dad had an odd last name as well. His last name is very rare. You don't really see too many people with this particular last name. And my grandmother, which is my mom's mom, her side of the family, my great grandfather, their last names are odd as well. And those two last names are spelled differently depending on where you go, and which part of town you go to in Louisiana. But for the most part, when the family reunions are ran, you see all of these people with the different names. So, just for instance, my last name is Johnson, so you might see some spelled Johnsson, and some may be spelled Jonson, some may be spelled Jonsun, but they're all related. Just giving you an idea of how that works. But when you think about last names and the support of the family and how the family keeps the resources flowing through the community and it's passed down from generation to generation, that name has a reputation. You know, so when he understood that, and then all of a sudden he wants to just throw my grandfather, the pastor of the church, he wants to just throw his last name on me now, is to say, well, you know what, we have to keep my legacy going, we have to keep my name going. Hey man, it's dead now. I mean, all the girls who my cousins, of course, my first cousins, their dads never bothered to have their last name changed, but these girls are getting married, these girls are starting families of their own, and they're going to take the fraternal last name. And the guys who were born, my cousins who are men now, they've taken the last names of their mother's matriarchy, and he understood it. I guess he really gave it some thought, but I wasn't talking about him directly. I was just giving him a statement of how important last names were, not thinking about how how the legacy is for him and where I came from, my father and my father's father. That he thought about that shit, and he's getting old now. He's in his like mid 80s, so it's a terrible situation, man. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this video as it is now because I'm getting several text messages. Again, today is my birthday, and I have a few more videos I'm gonna post that I did yesterday as well. I'm gonna just go ahead and post them on here today. Yeah. All right. Well, you guys be cool. This is Sam Sim. You guys have a great day. Peace.